Let's talk about G2. More specifically, let's talk about G2 OXY. OXY got picked up by G2 at the beginning of the season and has really been one of the standout players in the North American Challenger scene. And because we're on a roster that includes the likes of Shazam and Dapper and has a lot of sort of old Sentinels sensibilities about how they play the game, there's a lot of people that are drawing some comparisons between OXY and TenZ and calling him potentially the next big thing in North America. And in a lot of cases, those comparisons kind of make sense because of clips like this.
Market behind you, maybe.
I got you, follow.
Nice Foxy.
Keep being trying to nerd lane.
Run it there.
132!
This kid is an absolute mechanical freak. And one of the things that makes him extra special, in my opinion, is that not only is he a freak on Jet with the operator and the knives, he is insane on the Raze as well. And right now, if you're a duelist player, you cannot be considered top tier unless you can play both the Jet and the Raze at an elite level, and OXY can, which makes him extremely exciting as a prospect as we go deeper into the 2023 season. And there's one clip in particular that really caught my eye and also my ears when I watched it back. Let me know if you can tell why this one is interesting to me.
He's coming out.
Nice stun.
Wait. Is that his music? Wait, hold on.
He's coming out.
Nice stun.
He's such a such around.
Bro.
Nothing B, it's okay.
Wait, is he playing with music on? Is he doing the trench strat where he's playing with music on in his matches or something? He knows that he can't do that at LAN, right? What?
I can slow when they come in.
I start heaven.
You can't do that at LAN, can you? Wait, can you?
Don't use
That's
anything.
not
Don't use anything.
I'm not yet there.
Okay, I'm letting them come in.
Yeah, they're in, they're in.
They are. They're coming out.
Yeah, they're coming
Music
in.
on during a match is crazy.
One more. Dead elbow.
We all touch.
Elbow dead.
I ulted. Get back.
Oh.
Oh
my gosh.
Hopefully someone lets OXY know. Even if you were able to play with music on LAN, I mean, I would totally advise against that.
So I want to talk a little bit about this clip and also Tarek's reaction to it, because some people might be kind of brushing this off as like, oh, he just plays with music because that's what I do when I play my games. You know, I just am vibing and playing some Valorant and that's all good. But it's actually kind of not all good. And one of the reasons for that is what Tarek highlighted in the video, which is that you can't do that at LAN. We've already actually had a case study for this where Trent for the Guard last year was absolutely destroying in the early season and making the Guard look like one of the best teams in North America, period. The problem is that when they got to LAN, Trent kind of fell off and the Guard in general crumbled. And it came out shortly after that particular LAN that Trent was having some issues adapting to the LAN environment because he was new to LAN and he's playing the game with music on when he's at home. And now, obviously, if you're just playing from home and having fun, that's totally fine. It doesn't really matter. You know, you're just playing the game for fun. But when the game is your job, you want to be doing everything possible to perform your best, right? Because you're being paid a ton of money to play this game at the elite level and win. You know, that's the only reason that you're on a team, basically. Now, obviously, every time that you go to LAN, you're going to struggle to adapt to some extent because it's not going to be your home setup. You're not necessarily going to have the exact same experience, so it's not going to be as comfortable. And anytime you're experiencing discomfort, it's a little bit harder to perform at your best. This is just a fact. There's no getting around that. That's why we kind of celebrate people who show up at LAN and perform as well as they did online or better. We call them, you know, LANimals, because it's incredibly difficult to go from one comfortable environment to an uncomfortable one and, you know, play even better. So one of the things that a lot of people will do when they're trying to optimize their performance is they'll try and get their experience of practice to be as close as possible to the real thing, to the game, to when the pressure's on. In stuff like traditional sports, teams will go as far as having like the exact same routine every single time they come to practice, and then also the exact same routine before the game starts. They'll have, you know, the same equipment. They'll try and do the exact same things. They'll have the same food. They'll do all of these rituals to create the exact same like mind state before they have to go out and compete. And one of the things that's interesting about music is a lot of people use it to kind of get into a flow state, to calm themselves down, to get in the mood to perform well. I mean, I know I do this when I snowboard and when I work out at the gym. Music makes things better often and easier to focus on sometimes. And so if you're using music as sort of this background noise to help you focus, play the game of Valorant, it is going to definitely detract from your performance when it's not there, because it's going to be harder to get into that same zone. And obviously, as a competitor, your goal is to be in the zone every single time you play as much as possible. So when you have a player that is not only most likely practicing with music on, but playing officials online with music on, they're basically practicing all the time with a specific environment. And again, we've already seen this happen. We saw it happen with Trent. His performance significantly dropped when he did not have his setup. And as somebody who has played sports at a relatively high level and also helped hundreds of people improve at various games and esports, I think it's really important to fix this habit as quickly as possible. So if G2, OXY, or the coach is watching this, this is something that you should absolutely be training out of as soon as possible, because if your goal is to get to the highest level and win on LAN, you're going to lose the ability to have music playing in the background. And that might even happen this season, because from what we're hearing, the Ascension tournament, which is going to allow teams to qualify into the partnered league, is going to be on LAN. So it would be absolutely tragic for G2 to do all of the work, get to the Ascension tournament, and then for their superstar duelist player to have a mediocre or subpar performance. That would be a horrendous end to the season, not only for OXY, but for the entire G2 team. And I don't want to spend too long on this because OXY had an incredible first split. He looks like an incredible player. His potential is through the roof. But I just want to point out a couple of things that I'm noticing because I want people to reach their potential. That is what makes esports exciting, is seeing people do cool things. So I'm just going to point this out as well. Sometimes you win things in Valorant through information and not just through shooting. And if, for example, you hear something, you can communicate it to your teammates, it might end up winning you a round. But let's just imagine for a second the scenario where you're holding a site and somebody drops out of heaven and makes noise, but the beat of your song hits at that exact same moment and you miss the information and you miss the comm and you lose the round and potentially the game because of that. That seems like another doomsday scenario that you could easily avoid if you're not listening to music. Players who play with music don't have it up high because they understand that they need to be able to hear things. So it's pretty low, but I do know for a fact, because I coached tier 2 and tier 3 players that played with music on in practices and in games, and I have noticed that there are times that these players don't hear things that I hear when I'm watching their perspective. My guess is probably because there's music playing in the background. Now, obviously, OXY is not blasting the music, and neither are these players that I'm talking about. But you're putting something in between you and being able to hear the game sounds. So please break this habit if your goal as a player is to become the best player in Valorant. If your goal is to play at LANs, if your goal is to try and win tournaments, you need to break the habit of playing with music. And the very last thing that I'm going to nitpick here, because again, I want OXY to succeed, I think he has potential to be an incredibly good player, is what is this minimap? Maybe it's because I come from the MOBA genre where you spend like 80 to 90% of the game watching the minimap, but this thing is like cheating. It's literally like cheating, because there will be times where enemy locations will show on the minimap but not on your screen because you swept past a pixel angle and the computer picked it up that there was a player on your screen, but your eyes didn't. So the fact that OXY can't see the entire minimap is just nerfing his ability to play the game. Then maybe it's because it's kind of distracting to have, you know, a ton of stuff going on up in this corner. But if you're going to have the minimap size this big anyway, you're just wasting space. You might as well just show the whole map so that if there is a scenario like that where a player on the other team shows up on your teammate's screen half a map away, you can at least give them a warning, make sure that they notice that happened, and again, potentially avoid losing a round because of it. So I just wanted to put this out there because I think it's really important to say, and let me know if you guys play with music down in the comments below. Peace.